Welcome to EduCasts, home of EduCasters. Given the breadth of the topic, we must go deeper into specific mechanisms to truly arm you for the classroom. Let's look at the specific levers you can pull. The sensory processing dimension. We often overlook the sensory reality of the classroom. Schools are sensory nightmares. Buzzing fluorescent lights, hard chairs, echoing hallways, the smell of floor wax, and cafeteria food. For neurotypical students, this is background noise. The brain filters it out through a process called habituation. But for students with sensory processing disorder, SPD, or those on the autism spectrum, the filter is broken. The hum of the projector isn't background noise. It's a dentist's drill in their ear. The tag on their shirt feels like sandpaper. When a student like this acts out, flips a desk, screams, or puts their head down and refuses to talk, it is often a meltdown caused by sensory overload. It's not bad behavior in the traditional sense. It's a neurological system that has redlined. Teacher move. Be a sensory detective. If a student consistently falls apart at 2 p.m., look at the environment. Is the sun hitting their eyes? Is the room loudest then? Simple changes. Tennis balls on chair legs to stop the screeching, allowing noise-canceling headphones during independent work. Creating a quiet corner with low light can salvage a student's entire education. The role of executive function. If you ask teachers what frustrates them most, they usually list things like they lose their papers, they can't plan ahead, they blurt out answers, they don't start the work. We tend to view these as character flaws. We tell students to try harder or get organized, but these are actually failures of executive function. Executive functions are the CEO of the brain, located largely in the prefrontal cortex. They handle impulse control, emotional regulation, task initiation, planning, and organization. Here's the kicker. The prefrontal cortex doesn't finish developing until the mid-20s. Every student you teach, from kindergarten to high school senior, has a CEO that is still under construction. However, the developmental timeline varies wildly. You will have 12-year-olds with the executive function of an adult, and 16-year-olds with the executive function of a 10-year-old. This is often where the smart but lazy label gets applied. A student might have a high IQ, great hardware, but poor executive function. Glitchy operating system. They understand the physics, but they lost the worksheet, forgot the due date, and left their calculator in their locker. Teacher move. Externalize the executive function. Don't just say, do a project. Provide a timeline with checkpoints. Use visual timers so they can see time passing. Time blindness is real. Have a consistent spot in the room where materials live. You are acting as their external frontal lobe until theirs develops enough to take over. Gender differences. Nature, nurture, and bias. The topic of gender in the classroom is a minefield of stereotypes. But there are patterns we need to be aware of, mostly regarding how we treat students. Research consistently points out that boys receive more attention in classrooms than girls, both positive and negative. Boys are more likely to call out, and teachers are more likely to accept the call out from a boy, but reprimand a girl for not raising her hand. We also see a confidence gap. In STEM subjects, high-achieving girls are often more likely to doubt their abilities than their male counterparts. A boy who gets a C in math might say, the teacher is bad, or I didn't study. A girl who gets a C might say, I'm not good at math. And then there is the crisis of boys in literacy. Boys are falling behind in reading and writing at alarming rates. Part of this is biological, developmental delays in language processing. But part is cultural. We often frame reading, especially fiction, as a passive, emotive, feminine activity. Teacher move. Audit your own room. Who are you calling on? Who is dominating the discussion? Are you offering literature that appeals to a variety of interests? Nonfiction, graphic novels, and technical manuals are reading too. Are you validating the quiet leadership of girls and challenging the boys to listen? Resilience and the at-risk label. We often use the term at risk to describe students from poverty, broken homes, or trauma backgrounds. While the statistics are real, the label is dangerous because it focuses on the potential for failure. We need to flip the script and look for protective factors. Why does one student from a traumatic background succeed? Usually, it boils down to the presence of one consistent, caring adult. That could be you. Trauma-informed teaching is not about being a therapist. It's about understanding that a student who has experienced trauma, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, has a brain that is wired for survival. They are constantly scanning for threats. A raised voice, a sudden movement, or a sarcastic comment can trigger a survival response: fight, flight, freeze, fawn. When a student tells you to f because you ask them to take off their hat, a traditional disciplinarian sees insubordination. A trauma-informed educator asks, what did that request trigger? Was it a power dynamic? Was it shame? This doesn't mean there are no consequences. It means the consequence is delivered with regulation, not escalation. I see you're upset. We're going to step outside and take a breath, and then we will talk about the hat. Final thoughts for the road. You are entering a profession that is scientifically complex, emotionally draining, and socially vital. You will never perfectly meet the needs of every single individual difference in your room. You will have days where you feel like you failed the quiet kid, or the angry kid, or the brilliant kid. That is okay. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is responsiveness. The fact that you are reading this, that you are thinking about the nuances of the human mind and the weight of the human heart, means you are already on the right path. The standard student is a myth, but the impact you can have on the very real, very different individuals in front of you is a fact. Go in there, look them in the eye, every single one of them, and teach the person, not the class. To truly ground these concepts, let's look at 3 specific students you might encounter in a single 10th grade English class and how a master teacher navigates them simultaneously. Case Study 1. Marcus, the behavior problem. Profile. Marcus sits in the back, hood up. He rarely brings a pencil. When asked to read aloud, he cracks a joke or refuses. He has a suspension history for fighting. The surface view. Marcus is oppositional, lazy, and doesn't value education. The deep view. Marcus reads at a 4th grade level. Individual difference, academic skill deficit. He uses humor and aggression as a shield to protect his self-esteem. Individual difference, defense mechanism. He is terrified of being exposed as stupid in front of his peers. His fighting is a reaction to feeling cornered. The strategy. The teacher does not force him to read aloud, removing the threat. She talks to him privately. Marcus, I notice you have great insights when you discuss the themes. I want to hear that. I'm going to give you the discussion questions a day early so you can think about them. She separates the skill of reading from the skill of analysis. She builds a relationship where he feels safe enough to try, perhaps getting him into a reading intervention without announcing it to the class. Case Study 2. Elena, the perfect student. Profile. Elena has a 4.0 GPA. Her notes are color-coded. She asks, will this be on the test? Constantly. She panics if she gets a B+. The surface view. Elena is fine. She needs no help. A deep view. Elena suffers from crippling perfectionism and high anxiety. Individual difference, neuroticism. Her motivation is entirely extrinsic, grades. She takes no intellectual risks because she fears failure. She is learning to please, not learning to think. The strategy. The teacher pushes back on her anxiety. Elena, for this draft, I want you to take a risk. I want you to argue a point you don't actually believe, just to see if you can. I am not grading this on correctness. I am grading it on boldness. The teacher praises her process. I love how you struggled with that idea. Rather than the product, good job, A+. The goal is to shift her from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Case Study 3. Jaden, the daydreamer. Profile. Jaden stares out the window. He doodles complex mechanical drawings in the margins of his notebook. He rarely turns in homework, but when he speaks, he uses vocabulary that surprises you. The surface view. Jaden is spacey and unmotivated. A deep view. Jaden has high fluid intelligence, but low processing speed and poor executive function. Individual difference, cognitive profile. He is likely bored by the pace of the lecture, but overwhelmed by the organization required for the homework. The strategy. The teacher leverages his visual strength. Jaden, instead of the essay, can you draw a schematic of the relationships between the characters in the novel? Differentiation of product. She helps him set up a digital reminder system for his homework, scaffolding executive function. She realizes his staring is him visualizing the concepts, not ignoring them. By understanding these differences, the teacher transforms a room of problems into a room of potential. This is the work. It is hard, it is messy, and it is the most important job on earth.